Hey guys, welcome back to Take 10. As usual, I will start by introducing myself. My name is Hale. I'm from Mishawaka, Indiana. I go to school at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, and I love flowers, drawing, and dogs. Hey guys! So, we are going to do our icebreaker real quick before we jump into our lesson. As usual, I have this hat, and it's got some fun facts about Sissy Girl here, and a question for us to answer. Okay. So, when Sissy was little, she had a toy hedgehog that she would carry in her mouth everywhere she went. We had to argue with her to get her to not take it outside when she went to go use the bathroom. She loved it. It was her baby. And then our question is, are you a morning person or a night person? I'm personally a morning person, and I don't really know if I was when I was your age, but I definitely am now. I love the mornings. I feel like when you wake up in the morning, there's so much time in the day, and it's nice. So, are you a morning person or a night person, and why? Go ahead and tell a partner. Okay, we're going to get back in the lesson now, and all my morning people, hey. Okay, so ground rules per usual. We're going to go over these just to remind everyone what we should be doing while we're practicing Take 10. So when you practice Take 10, you need to use these rules, plus the rule of whatever place that you're currently in. So, school rules, we have to use those too. Number 1, everyone has the right to speak. Number 2, no one must speak. 3, everyone must listen. 4, no put-downs and no name-calling. 5, disagree on issues, but don't attack people. 6, agree to disagree. And 7, keep a sense of humor at all times. Last time I asked you to try and remember some things. I asked you to remember things about anger and conflict, which is what we talked about in our last chapter. Conflict is a disagreement between people, or sometimes in your own head. And anger triggers are things that make us mad or angry. And everyone gets angry sometimes. Everyone experiences being mad. So everyone has these anger triggers. It's super normal, and we just need to know how to deal with it, that's all. Today we're going to be talking even more about anger because it can be such a complicated thing. The thing that we're going to talk about today is how anger is secondary. And I know you're like, what does that mean? I actually was too when I first learned this, but it's really interesting. So, anger doesn't exist by itself as an emotion. You don't only ever feel angry. There's always another emotion behind it, like it's hiding. There's always another emotion that's causing you to become angry. That's why anger is secondary, like second. There's something first. There's an emotion that you feel first before you feel anger. So, something that kind of makes this a little easier to understand is this really famous thing called the anger iceberg, which is a picture of here on the screen. So the iceberg represents everything that you are feeling. And the things above the water are the things that are easy to see and easy to understand. And the things that are below the water are still things you're also feeling, but they're a little bit harder to see and maybe a little bit harder to understand. So as you can see, anger is at the top, but there's a bunch of stuff below it because you're never just angry. There's always something, even if it's hard to see. So an example of this, when I was in 2nd grade, there was this boy named Chris who told me one day that I could not play soccer with everyone else at recess. And his reason why is because only the boys play soccer. This was kind of true. I was one of the only girls who ever played soccer with the group of boys, other than another girl sometimes. But yeah, he told me, you can't play with us, you're not a boy. It's totally random. And I was so mad. And I'm not gonna lie, I handled it the wrong way and I did not take 10. And I ended up tackling him because I was just that mad. And I didn't know about take 10 yet. Well, I wasn't just mad though, was I? If you think really hard about it, there was something else that I was feeling. So take a second and I want you to try and think of what's the other thing you would be feeling if you were in my situation. What might you be feeling other than anger if that happened to you? So if we look at the words that are on the bottom half of the iceberg, the things that are harder to see and understand, there are some examples of things that I might have been feeling, or just things that you also feel with anger, because remember, anger is never alone. So you could feel embarrassed or scared, rejected, nervous, guilty, hurt, annoyed, offended, stressed, helpless, exhausted, frustrated. These are all things that go along with anger. So right before I actually got angry, I think that what I might have been feeling was disrespected. So Chris tells me that I can't play soccer with the boys anymore, and it's hard to tell, but I feel really disrespected. How rude of him. Why can he say that? I always play with them. That's not fair. So I feel disrespected, like it's a personal thing. But it happened so fast that I moved from disrespected to angry. So now I'm feeling angry. And when I tell the story back to people, I always just say, I got really angry that day. But anger is secondary. I was feeling something else too. You're always feeling something else with anger. I was feeling frustrated. I was feeling offended. I was feeling annoyed. So anger is always secondary. And any time that you're angry, there's really something else going on there too. So what is an emotion behind anger that you can remember feeling at some point? Go ahead and turn and talk with a partner. Teachers, feel free to pause the video. You might need a minute or two, but try and remember a time when you felt angry and try and figure out what was the emotion behind anger that you were feeling. Were you actually feeling scared at first? Or just super annoyed? Really tired? Take a moment to think of an example and what that emotion might have been. All right. Now, why do we care about this? You might think it's just not very interesting. Okay, anger is never alone. There's always another emotion, but why do we care? Well, it actually matters a lot. One, it's just good to be in touch with your emotions and know what they are and why you're having them. But knowing the emotion behind your anger can usually help you to solve the problem. And that's so useful. So that day, I wasn't thinking about what made me angry about what Chris did. I wasn't thinking, gosh, I feel disrespected. That's why I'm angry. I wasn't thinking about that. And because I wasn't thinking about that, I wasn't thinking about solving the problem. I just wanted to get back at him. But we're not encouraging that in Take 10. We want you to talk it out, walk it out, wait it out, and then we want you to try and solve the problem. And we'll talk more about problem solving in the future. But you have to be thinking, I want to try and solve this problem, not to use violence. And knowing what that emotion is can help you a lot. If I knew that I had been feeling disrespected, I could have talked it out with Chris and been like, hey, I feel like you're being kind of rude. You know, I always play. Do you have a reason why you don't want me to play anymore? I just feel really disrespected by what you said. And maybe we could have gotten somewhere other than what ended up happening. When you talk it out, especially, you can investigate and start to feel better. Not only is talking it out a way of taking 10, but it's a way to problem solve because you can get to the bottom of what made you angry and then go from there about how you can solve it. Today, now, we are going to do a journal activity, and this is exactly what we've been talking about for the last few minutes. It's about what makes me angry. So I'll read the instructions here. In the explosions, write down some of the big things that trigger your anger. Remember last time we talked about anger triggers. On the shirt of the person hiding, write the word for the emotion behind your anger in that situation. So for me, in the explosion, I would write down, being told I can't play with other people. But on the shirt of the person hiding, I would write disrespected, because that's how I felt. I felt disrespected that they didn't want me to play. And remember, anger is a secondary emotion. Knowing the other emotion behind it can help you solve the problem nonviolently. So if I had only known that I was feeling disrespected, the thing that's going to be on the shirt, it probably could have gone a lot better. We got to focus on what's on the shirt. We tend to focus on the explosion. But if we focus on what's on the shirt, the emotion behind anger, it gets way easier to solve the problem. So let me show you an example that I did. All right, so in my explosion, the thing that's really easy to focus on that makes me mad is being ignored in conversation. That's an anger trigger for me. But what I'm really feeling, behind that is I'm feeling embarrassed. It makes me feel bad that I'm being ignored. Like, is there something wrong with me? Another thing that, triggers my anger is not understanding how to do things. And sometimes that makes me feel ashamed. But when I'm ashamed, I would quickly become angry, and I would only think about how I'm angry and not how I actually feel ashamed. And maybe there's something that I can do to fix that. Another one, anger trigger, is people being mean to my friends or family. And what I feel behind that is I feel attacked. And when I feel attacked, I start to feel angry. And that's when I need to take 10 and then try and think, I'm feeling attacked right now. How can I fix that? So hopefully you can see how these things, knowing what is behind your anger, can help you start to solve the problem. It's really important to take 10 and take a moment to think about it. Think, what is behind my anger? What's making me so mad right now? Because it's never just anger. Anger is never alone. So now we are just going to wrap things up. And I'm going to tell you what I want you to remember for next time. Dealing with anger, I want you to remember that knowing the emotion behind your anger usually helps to solve the problem. It's definitely worth investigating. And a good way to investigate is to talk it out. Not only is it good for taking 10, trying to calm down, is talk it out, walk it out, wait it out, but talking it out also helps you figure out what that emotion is. And once you know what the emotion is, you can start to solve it. Okay, guys, go ahead and work on that journal activity, and I will see you next week. We're going to move on to the next chapter. Bye, guys.